this week's episode, we're talking fight, flight, and freeze response. Welcome back for another episode of Trauma Informed Talk with Coach Gabby. I'm Coach Gabby. Today, I want to piggyback off of last week's episode where I begged you to be kind to yourself and your mind. And I want to talk about that in regards to fight, flight, and freeze response, which happens often when you are suffering from PTSD or CPTSD. So one of the big reasons why I wanted to talk about this today is because for me personally, when I was in the grips of my CPTSD and truly suffering and relying on fight, flight, and freeze responses to get through my triggers or whatever was going on in my brain, I found that often, specifically in fight response, I would be so angry at myself after the fact. So I'll just give an example. Let's say I'm driving on the road. Somebody does something very dangerous, right? Like they swerve in front of me, do something that could cost me my life. There were times in my past where my reaction to that was not just anger. It was 0 to 1,000,000. I would turn into Wolverine. And it wasn't that this person just made an error on the road that could have led to an accident. I would view this person as someone who tried to kill me. So then my reaction was, back at you, buddy. And I would be like, I don't want to say I was homicidal, but I mean, I was full of violent rage, fight. It was a response. But what would happen was, let's say I would say something horrible to the other driver. And then maybe 10 minutes later, they'd be next to me and go, I'm sorry, and apologize, right? And then I'd realize it was an accident. Why did I overreact? And that's when I'd start being unkind to Gab and beating Gab up for this fight response to my panic and thinking I'm going to be killed in a car accident. But I wasn't giving myself that grace. I wasn't giving myself the grace of, Gab, you were scared, Gab. You were trying to defend yourself, Gab. Like I couldn't do that. All I was doing was beating myself up. And when I say beat myself up, I would beat myself up for hours, sometimes days. You know, it didn't help in any way. I just felt like I was a horrible person. I was a hothead who couldn't control myself, and there was just something wrong with me, and it would just turn into this Gab abusing Gab. And I wanted to bring this up in case any of you go through this when you are in fight mode, flight mode, or freeze mode. If you tend to do this and then immediately are being hard on yourself, I don't think that's helpful. I really don't. And one of the things that helped me was my therapist and I did this thing called parts work, internal family systems, I think is the umbrella in which it exists under. But in doing parts work, I almost was able to take fight, flight, and freeze and give them their own names, like fight is Wolverine, and talk to them as parts of my brain, which are activated by my amygdala, and kind of thank them for their service. And when I feel them coming in, knowing I don't need to get into a fist fight right now, so I could be like, hey, Wolverine, I really appreciate you for trying to save my life right now on the road, but I don't think our life was at risk. We're okay. We can calm down now, but I really appreciate you for being there. And have a kindness to these different parts because they're a part of your PTSD or CPTSD, and they're a part of you. And so when I'm begging you to be kind to you, I include all the parts of you as well. And I know for me particular, fight was a really hard one. And I want to also piggyback to some earlier conversations of when I was misdiagnosed as bipolar. They view that very differently than it is viewed in PTSD or CPTSD treatment. So I will say that there was success in almost taming the fight response, but I didn't cure my PTSD, right? So bipolar, it was like, it's bad to be, like, you weren't allowed to be angry. They just keep medicating you if you were angry rather than having you figure out why you were angry. So that didn't help me. And I would then tend to go to freeze and flight mode. I used to be much more fight all the time, did bipolar treatment, tamed the fight response, still was there, but would tame it better. But I still had CPTSD, so I would rely on flight and freeze. I'm only throwing that out there if you're someone who your whole life you've been diagnosed with bipolar and you're still not where you'd like to be mentally. There might be some trauma involved. And I just speaking personally, that has been a major step in my wellness. And since I'm really trying to get you to be kind to yourself, kind to your mind, kind to the parts of your brain, I also want to talk about flight. So I think fight, everyone understands having, an angry response to something that is triggering you, right? That's fight. And flight is avoiding things, right? So you avoid anything that could trigger you. And I have done that a lot. And I was getting to the point where I was avoiding everything. And I was like, hey, I don't know that I feel alive anymore. And that was sort of how we started working more on CPTSD and PTSD in therapy. Because I was just like, look, I've done all this work with bipolar, but now I feel like I don't get to live life and I don't know what's going on anymore. And so that really helped dig through the mystery of what Gab's diagnosis was. But yeah, I would just leave anything that was too much, anything that was giving me all the feels. And often with me and my CPTSD, I couldn't even, I would go right into fight, flight, or freeze that I never even knew what I was feeling. So if 2 days later it's oh, but why did you react like that? What were you feeling in the moment? I couldn't even tell you. I'd be like, I don't know. I have no idea. In my therapy with my current therapist, she had to give me a colored wheel. So it's all the colors of the rainbow. And in every block of the rainbow are all emotions that fit for that color. So the blues would be depressed, sad, pensive, right? But all of these feelings, because I could not identify my feelings as a grown woman. I'd have to use my feelings wheel because I was so used to fight, flight, or freeze. Freeze, man, that I remember being in a situation with some peers who were drinking and not being very kind to me. And they both were ganging up on me. And I was feeling, obviously, I was being very triggered from my past. I'd been bullied. And I remember them demanding answers from me. And I could not think. When I say my brain froze, it literally felt like clock wheels, how they have the little jag and then it was I was just stuck. My brain could not work because I was so triggered by adult bullying with people I thought were my new friends. And it was this really weird experience. But I froze, could not find my words. And then for days after, instead of being wow, those people weren't kind to you, Gab, and being nice to Gab, I was just, you idiot. How can't you think? What are you? You weak-minded. You're so stupid. I was so hard on myself. And it took years till after the fact, through all of it, to be oh my gosh, Gabby. I am telling you, being kind to yourself is such a gift. Especially if you were someone who some of your trauma was bullying. You'll start doing it to yourself and be oh my gosh, this is what I've been needing to do to myself my entire life. It'll be such a gift to you. But I really, especially for my friends out there who have PTSD, CPTSD, maybe you think you have it and you haven't been diagnosed yet. If you've been watching these videos and you're I never thought I had it, but the more you talk, I'm geez, maybe I am in fight, flight, or freeze mode. You can overcome this. Yes, you can, because I have overcome this. I know when it's happening. I'm not saying that it's gone. I'm not saying that when someone does something dangerous on the road and I think they're risking my life, I don't have a second of, kill. And then I stop myself and start laughing. I'm you're not killing anybody. You're alive. You're grateful to be here. Cut it out. But then I thank that part. I'm but thank you, Wolverine. Thank you for being there to protect me. Thank you for living through all the trauma. And it had an effect on you to the point that you think I need you at all times. but you can sit back. I'm okay. I have this. And I actually talk to that part of my brain. I talk to fight. I talk to flight. I talk to freeze. I talk to it all until I'm back and I'm grounded and I'm in my essence and I feel good, because I deserve to feel good. You deserve to feel good. So if you find yourself activated in fight, flight, or freeze, I am begging you, don't be mad at yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. If you can, step back and really try to think about what you were feeling before you got into that mode. And then process those feelings. Sit with those feelings. Don't do anything. Don't numb yourself. Don't do it. Feel the feels. Allow yourself. You're allowed. And I'm telling you, it's going to have less power on you, and slowly and surely, you're going to be on the other side of this. I really, really love you guys. I am so appreciative of everyone who watches these videos. If you live in the East Coast, I'm in Pittsburgh. The weather is stunning today. It was stunning yesterday. I think, dare I say it, spring may be here, folks. And I don't know about any of you, but I definitely have seasonal affective disorder, and I am feeling better these days. So I hope you can get outside, get some vitamin C, get some fresh air, and just sit with yourself. Be with you this week. Take some time and take yourself on a date. Start practicing loving yourself. Take a walk. Do whatever it takes to be you and you. And the more you do it, the more you're going to just love spending time with yourself, because you're going to become your favorite person. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next week, have a great week. Bye.